Hey there, in this video I'll be going over how to track your competitors on LinkedIn, specifically using their sort of like LinkedIn engagement, any likes, comments that they're getting on their page. This is a guide on how we'll be using Clay and Trigify to make this happen. It's a step-by-step breakdown. I'll be giving you the entire template of first how to do it in Trigify, also the exact table to use in Clay, and then also how to connect it to the tools that you use for outbound. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first off, why the strategy works and why you should listen. This is a campaign that we run all the time for our clients over at RevGrowth. We send right around 500,000 emails per month at the moment. And this is just a really strong campaign. To be fair, it isn't a high volume campaign just because there's a lot less traffic than if you were to like pull a list yourself. But again, performs really well and definitely a segment worth running just because it's a one-time setup and you're able to get this to run forever, evergreen in the background. So another piece as well is that your competitors are putting in the work to create that content, and you might as well interact with the same people who are already interested in that solution. And if it happens to be a similar solution to yours, even better in your shoes. But again, this isn't necessarily something that you need to use to scrape your competitors. You could also use this to scrape intent on your own profile and have a way to redirect that traffic or that intent and sort of send messages via LinkedIn or even cold email. So here are the results that we ran or that we've seen just like with a campaign very, very recently. We only sent 580 emails, got 15 replies, and 4 of those were interested. So one lead for every 145 emails, which is really fantastic. Now it's time for the setup, and let's get right into it. First piece is setting up your Trigify account. So you have a few options here. They recently came out with a pay-as-you-go option, but you are limited with not being able to track engagement, so we don't want that. So the minimum plan that you need is this Essentials plan. Very, very worth it for as well the other features like the listening feature, but in this case, we're only going to be using this profile engagement feature, and you can track up to 5 profiles. So just pick your top 5 profiles. Another thing you could do is also have a little bit of a rotation going on. So every week you could rotate through different influencers, or every month, sort of just depends on your niche and sort of how active people are. But now let's just jump right into the dashboard and show you how to set it up for yourself. So once you're logged in, this is what the tool looks like. Let's go straight into profile engagement. In this case, we'll only be using my profile as the main lead, but you go into here. This section will most likely be empty for you. You go to manage, and then here you'll add that profile that you're looking to start scraping. So we already have, so I don't want to break this, but essentially all you would do is go add a new profile. You'd go to LinkedIn, and then you would copy the URL, and then you would head back into Trigify, paste it, and then you can go move on to next. And then in the next steps, so I'm going to do a little bit of a workaround to this, but it'll be the same sort of view for you, but you would get into the webhook side of things to actually set it up. So once you've imported the profile that you're looking to monitor, you'll go into that person's account, if that makes sense, in this section, and then you'll click on Clay. And this is where Clay comes into the part of the flow. So I'll send a template of this, or I'll add a template of this in the description, so it's super easy for you to just take this and run with it. And I'll explain this table after we connect this webhook. So you'll go here, you'll go to this webhook section, you'll click the plus. All right, so you'll create the new webhook, and then you'll just copy this section right here. Then you'll go back into Trigify, add an endpoint, and then paste it right here. And then you will go engagement results created, create, and that will automatically send all of the likes, comments that you might be getting on posts. Let me just show you right here, just so you get an idea of what it looks like. So you'll see that people liked, people commented, and then where they came from. And every time that happens, it'll be pushed into your Clay table. So that's the Trigify setup completed. Next, we'll be going into Clay. So in order to have this Clay functionality functionality and what I showed you with that webhook import, you will need Clay's $350 per month plan, but it's totally worth it just because, I mean, you do get like 10,000 credits, I believe. So that will give you probably most of your outbound needs if you're not doing anything crazy high volume. And then as well, having access to the webhook functionality is huge. You can also import HTTP or API, so you can run HTTP requests to also bring your costs lower. So overall, if you haven't checked out Clay, I definitely recommend it. And then just quickly going over the process. First, create a duplicate of the table that I will give you in the description. Copy in that webhook. Make sure to update the data enrichment integrations, which I will go over right now, and then adjust the qualification prompt. So big picture, getting all that raw data from LinkedIn. We will clean, sort of normalize the names of the people, enrich their data, and if we can find emails, we will look for emails. So let's see what that looks like in practice. So here I imported leads just via copy paste. So we're not seeing the webhook triggers, but normally all the data here, and this is going to be plug and play, but all the data here will populate into these tabs. So how does this work? So first we import sort of all the leads details, also their engagement type, just in case we ever want to run anything specific for people who comment, or maybe comment something specific as well is something we could do. And then as soon as we get to this point, we want to enrich their the company's information. So here we're using Lead Magic to do that. And this is that first data integration that you'll need to connect your Lead Magic API key into. Then you get all this info. You get what company they work at. Let's see if industry. Not just seeing that industry is not in here. So here. Industry. So you got their industry, what country they're in, and then employee count. So this is where my first verification step comes in. So I call it just pre-verification just because it's before any AI integration and anything expensive, since this is just using code. So you can really make this whatever you want. So you could go based off of specific titles. You could go off countries, you can go off employee count. In this case, I just said, make sure the company's at least in the US and their employee count is between 50 to 500. And then as well, just so you know, using Clay, you can always write this using just natural language, right? So it's like only mark is true if company country contains US and employee count is between 50 and 500. So very, very simple to create this. You click generate and then it'll spin it up into JSON for you. Then at this point is where our verification prompt comes into play. So again, this is super, super cheap to run, but we just don't want to waste money if it's not necessary. If we already know some of the things of these leads are things that we don't want to pitch to no matter what. So that's kind of the logic there. I recommend using GPT-5 Nano, very, very cheap, very, very smart model as well. This is what the prompt looks like. And then at this point, what I would recommend you to do is copy paste this. This prompt is currently built for SaaS companies. So just double check if the company is SaaS, only output yes. If it's true, output no otherwise. And then as you can see in the conditions right here, I'll just move this. In the conditions, only run if this is true is what this means. So only runs if our pre-verification step passed. So it'll run. We get a little bit of a reasoning, but really the one thing we're looking for is just the output, which is yes or no. And then the cost is just a bonus that I'm just adding, but you feel free to hide this if you don't need it. And then here we're using Clay's built-in normalize step just to get the company names, make sure that they're cleaned up if there's anything messy. Then we run a waterfall. So here we're using 3 different providers, ICPs, Lead Magic, and then Prospeo. You don't have to go as in depth, but this just gets a lot more coverage. Using the more providers, the better as a general practice. And then next, we just want to clean up the employees' names. So let's see if we can find one. All of these are relatively normal because I'm just looking at like the first names of people. But let's say there were like people who had doctor or emojis at the beginning of their name. This is where this first and last name prompt comes into play. So again, for extremely, extremely cheap, we just clean up people's names if they have a valid email. and then we are ready to start sending. So that's the flow. Very plug and play. It's going to be very easy for you guys to start using this. And then the next part of the flow is to connect your outreach system. So a couple options here in terms of cold emails. So Email Bison is definitely what I recommend the most, but of course, Smart Leads is a great tool. Instant Leads is a great tool as well. And what we'll do is just create another column because they all natively integrate into Clay. So we'll just create another column to import those leads. And in this example, I'll show you how to do it in Email Bison, but it'll be very, very similar for every single lead. And then as well as a nice bonus, if you're looking to sort of take the system to another level, would be to integrate a tool called HeyReach. So this is a tool that you can use to send LinkedIn messages and connection requests automatically. The way I like to use this is if I can't find a valid email for someone, I'll pitch them on LinkedIn instead, or at least connect with them on LinkedIn. You can change the logic to that and just sort of connect with everybody on LinkedIn, but only send a message to people who don't have an email. So you could do a lot of edits in that part of the flow, but again, always comes down to what you're looking for and sort of what your objectives are. And then for Email Bison specifically, which is what's going to be imported in the table, the way the logic works is you need to first import the lead, and then you assign that lead to a specific campaign. So I've left this all empty. You just have to add your API keys and it'll be ready to go. And then same with Lead Magic. The logic here, with HeyReach, is if there's no master email and there's a first name, then, this logic actually doesn't work at the moment. So I'll make edits to this before I post it in the description. But the reason this doesn't work is because the first and last name only runs if there's a valid email. So this would never run with these conditions. So I'm gonna have to update that, but it's a nice bonus to get a lot more volume. Then again, just a quick sort of like best practice when you're sort of launching a system like this. So for the first week of having a system like this, always check it daily just to make sure that leads are passing through and things are happening normally, and that leads that you previously might have not considered ICP are maybe being adjusted to be included or excluded. So just depending on what you're looking for, make sure that leads are actually being pushed to the outreach campaigns. And then as well, typical sort of reviewing the copy, making sure it's performing well. Are we converting, all of that stuff? And then after that first week phase, just set a reminder to at least check every 2 weeks, every week for the next 2 weeks to just review your filters, review the campaigns. If anything's underperforming, create new messaging. And then as well, big pro tip here is if a lead shows interest, reply within 5 minutes. It'll make a world of a difference when it comes to actually converting those leads into an email into a meeting. All right. So that's the end of the video. If you made it all the way here and you are, looking to build a system like this, but you realize it's pretty complex, there's quite a bit of stuff that plays into it. At RevGrowth, we've set up hundreds of campaigns similar to this, where we sort of just run this campaign evergreen for all of our clients and just help us get a lot more sort of traction on our campaigns and just run those like super targeted campaigns. So if that's something you're looking to do, we are currently offering free pilot campaigns. So if that's something you're looking to test out, we're happy to set up one of these campaigns for you. Just submit an application in the description below, and I will leave the link in there. All right. Besides that, that's everything for this video, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right. Have a good one.